All right, let's jump right in. Every single data-driven decision we make, well, it's built on a foundation. But what happens when that foundation is full of cracks? Today, we are going to master what is, without a doubt, the single most important step in data analysis, the prepare phase. This is where we stop disasters before they even have a chance to start.
So why is this so critical? Let's just start with a number, $12.9 million. According to the research firm Gartner, that's the average annual cost to a company because of poor data quality. We're not talking about a small rounding error here. That is a massive and frankly avoidable expense that hurts everything from top-level strategy to the bottom line.
You've heard this phrase a million times, right? Garbage in, garbage out. Well, it has never been more true than it is today. I don't care how fancy your AI is or how sophisticated your analysis gets. The quality of what comes out is 100% dependent on the quality of what you put in. And that's really the core idea we're going to be exploring.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start by really understanding the true cost of bad data. Then we'll zoom in on that crucial prepare phase. After that, we'll run through a 6-point checklist for data quality, learn how to vet your sources properly, unmask the sneaky threat of bias, and then wrap it all up with the one big takeaway.
You know that $12.9 million number? It's not just about the money, not really. Bad data leads to completely flawed business decisions. It absolutely cripples your day-to-day operations when things just break. And maybe worst of all, it destroys customer trust, sometimes for good. It all adds up to lost revenue and opportunities you'll never even know you missed.
The whole data analysis process really boils down to these 6 phases. And look, they're all important, of course. But today, we are putting a laser focus on number 2, prepare. This is where you gather your data, you clean it up, you get it organized. You nail this step, you're set up for success. But if you get it wrong, honestly, the other 5 phases don't stand a chance.
So what's the goal of the prepare phase? It's all about achieving high data quality. And that's not some fuzzy abstract idea. It's a real, measurable thing. It's asking the question, is this data actually fit for the job I needed to do? Does it accurately reflect the real world? Can I actually trust it enough to build my entire analysis on it?
To make this super concrete, data pros measure quality across 6 main dimensions. The best way to think about this? It's like the ultimate pre-flight checklist for your data before you take off. So let's walk through each one.
First on the list, accuracy. It's simple, right? Does your data reflect what's actually happening in the real world? But what I love about this example is how a tiny, tiny error, a GPS coordinate being off by just a couple of blocks, doesn't just make a map look wrong. It has a real-world impact. It sends real people to the wrong place, which leads to real frustration and real lost business.
Next up, we've got completeness. Do you have all the pieces of the puzzle you actually need? In this case, the data isn't technically wrong. The names and emails are probably spot on, but it's incomplete. And that gap, that missing 30% of phone numbers, it directly stops a core business function cold. Incomplete data just brings everything to a grinding halt.
Third is consistency. Is the same piece of information the same everywhere it appears? Because when data starts to contradict itself across your systems, the immediate impact is a loss of trust. A customer sees 2 different prices, they don't know which to believe, and that little bit of confusion is often all it takes to lose the sale.
Let's talk about timeliness. Is your data there for you when you actually need it? You know, old data can be just as dangerous as wrong data. A weather forecast that's 6 hours late isn't a forecast anymore. It's just history. And trying to make decisions about the future based on information that's already in the past, well, that's just a recipe for disaster.
5th on our checklist is validity. Does your data actually follow the rules for its field? February 30th is an impossible date, we all know that. But if your system lets that impossible data in, it can poison every single calculation it touches, from figuring out age groups to analyzing trends. It's basically corrupted from the start.
And finally, uniqueness. Is every record one of a kind with no duplicates? Now, this might sound like a simple housekeeping issue, but the impact can be incredibly severe. In a business, duplicates will skew all your numbers, but in a hospital, like in this example, well, it can be downright dangerous.
Okay, so you've got your 6-point quality checklist. But wait a minute, where's your data even coming from? Evaluating the source itself is every bit as critical. And a fantastic way to do this is with a framework called ROCC.
Think of ROCC as your 5-point inspection for any data set you're thinking of using. First, R for reliable. Can you really trust this to be accurate and unbiased? O is for original. Are you getting this straight from the source, or is this a second or third-hand summary where things get lost?
It's like that telephone game we played as kids. Next, C for comprehensive. Does it have everything you need? The second C is for current. Is this data fresh or is it stale? Does it reflect today's world? And finally, the last C is for cited. Can you trace it back to a reputable source? If your data fails any of these checks, you gotta pause and ask yourself if it even belongs in your analysis.
Now we get to the most subtle danger of all. What happens if your data passes all 6 quality checks and it comes from a ROCC-approved source, but it's still hiding a trap? This is the huge problem of hidden data bias, where statistically perfect data can lead you to some seriously flawed conclusions.
Let's look at a classic real-world case. Back in 2018, Amazon decided to use its massive pool of data to build an AI tool that could screen resumes and automatically pick out the top engineers. The goal was great: make hiring faster, more efficient, and more objective. So here's where it all went wrong: the training data. They fed the AI 10 years of resumes that had been submitted to Amazon. Now, on the surface, this data was high quality. It was accurate, it was complete. But here was the problem. It was suffering from a huge sampling bias. The dataset was a perfect reflection of the past, and in the tech world, that past was overwhelmingly male. The data itself had a bias baked right into it.
And the result, it was perfectly logical if you're a machine. The AI did exactly what it was told to do: find patterns that correlate with past success. And in that historical data, one of the biggest patterns was being a man. So the AI taught itself to penalize resumes that had the word women's in them or that came from all women's colleges. It wasn't being evil, it was just perfectly reflecting the bias that we as humans had fed it.
And all of this brings us to the single most important lesson of the entire prepare phase. The decisions you end up making are a direct, unavoidable reflection of the data you start with.
It's more than just garbage in, garbage out. It's a little more dangerous than that. Low-quality data, untrustworthy sources, biased data sets, they don't just create garbage. They create bad insights that look like good ones. They produce convincing, data-backed arguments that lead you straight to the wrong conclusion.
And that's really the question I want to leave you with. Your decisions are only as good as your data. The quality of your entire strategy is decided long before you ever build a chart or run a model. It's all decided right here, in the prepare phase. So take a hard look at your data. Do you really know what's in it?